2024. Formula One is full of twists and turns, but none as dramatic as the sudden decline of Mercedes. Before the summer break, the German team seemed to have found their rhythm, winning 3 out of 4 races. The entire paddock was buzzing about Mercedes' resurgence. But then something changed. Since returning to the track, Mercedes seems like a shadow of its former self. The W15, which held so much promise, is now struggling to break into the top 5. Lewis Hamilton and George Russell, drivers accustomed to fighting for podiums and victories, are now openly expressing their frustration. What happened to the team that dominated Formula One's hybrid era? Why do the long-awaited updates seem to have worsened the car? And most importantly, can Mercedes recover in time to save their season? Don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any updates. Let's dive in. Mercedes entered the 2024 season with high expectations. After a challenging 2023, the Brackley team seemed to have finally found their way back to the top. The early races of the year showed a competitive W15, capable of challenging the leaders. But it was just before the summer break that Mercedes truly shined. In a span of 4 races, the team secured 3 impressive victories. Lewis Hamilton won in Austria and the Netherlands, while George Russell triumphed in Hungary. The paddock was buzzing with excitement. Optimism was in the air. Team principal Toto Wolff declared that they had finally understood the car's concept. The engineers spoke of significant progress in understanding the complex aerodynamics of ground-effect cars. Hamilton and Russell were all smiles in interviews, confident that the fight for the championship was back within reach. The summer break came with Mercedes riding high, promising to come back even stronger for the second half of the season. But the return to the track brought a very different reality. And this is where our story takes an unexpected turn. The Dutch GP, the first race after the break, was supposed to be the stage for Mercedes to consolidate their rise. The team brought significant updates, promising a performance leap. However, the opposite happened. The W15 seemed to have regressed, struggling to enter Q3 and finishing the race outside the points. What went wrong? The answer lies in the complexity of the current F1 regulations. Mercedes' updates, which seemed promising in wind tunnel tests and CFD simulations, did not translate to the track. The car suffered from severe balance issues, unpredictably swinging between understeer and oversteer. The drivers reported a lack of confidence in the car's behavior, especially in high-speed corners. But the most critical problem was tire management. The updated W15 simply couldn't keep the tires in the optimal temperature window. During a qualifying lap, the car showed flashes of speed, but in the race, the degradation was brutal. Hamilton and Russell watched their rivals pull away lap after lap, powerless to respond. Toto Wolff, in a post-race interview at Zandvoort, acknowledged the gravity of the situation. "We showed good pace in specific moments, but we were unable to unlock that performance consistently. It's frustrating because we know the potential is there, but for some reason, we're not extracting it." The team then decided to take a step back. At the Italian GP, they chose to remove some of the updates, aiming to better understand the car's behavior. The result was marginally better, but still far from the level Mercedes aspired to. And it was in this context that we arrived at the Azerbaijan GP, the stage for another chapter in this saga of difficulties. While Mercedes' technical problems are complex, their drivers' reactions are crystal clear. The frustration is evident, especially in the case of Lewis Hamilton. The 7-time world champion, used to leading races and championships, now finds himself battling in the midfield. The Azerbaijan GP marked the peak of this frustration. Hamilton, who had qualified in 7th place, was forced to start from the pit lane due to an engine change. Expectations were for a recovery race, taking advantage of Mercedes' superior straight-line speed. But what unfolded was a nightmare of 51 laps for the Briton. "It was probably the worst balance I've ever had," Hamilton lamented after the race. The central issue was with the tires. Hamilton simply couldn't get close to the cars ahead without overheating his tires. This created a vicious cycle. The more he pushed to overtake, the faster his tires degraded. The result was a 9th-place finish, achieved more by other drivers' retirements than his own merit. Hamilton's frustration was clear over the radio. At one point, he asked the team, Are you seeing how I'm having to drive this? The silence that followed Toto Wolff's consoling words after the race was deafening. Hamilton, usually eloquent, had no words to express his disappointment. George Russell, though he managed a surprising podium due to the crash between Perez and Sainz, also didn't hold back on criticism. "It's really frustrating that it changes this much," he said, referring to the car's inconsistency with different tire compounds. "It's not just Mercedes, it's every team and every driver. One session you're fast, the next you're not, and only one thing changes." Mercedes' situation has made it clear that the problems go beyond simple adjustments. The team that dominated the hybrid era of F1 now faces a monumental challenge. How can they turn things around? Is there enough time to save the 2024 season? And what does this mean for the team's future in Formula One? Facing this challenging scenario, Mercedes has been forced to make tough decisions. At the Azerbaijan GP, the team opted for a bold approach, reverting to older car components. This decision was not made lightly. It represented a tacit admission that recent updates had taken the W15's development down a dead end. Toto Wolff explained the reasoning behind this decision. "We have the opportunity to show that we've learned the necessary lessons and made improvements both for this weekend in Azerbaijan and for the future." This statement reveals a lot about the team's current mindset. It's not just about saving the 2024 season, but about laying the foundation for 2025. This long-term vision was echoed by George Russell. "We want to win as many races as possible before the end of the year, but the main goal is to ensure we've learned all the lessons possible for next season." It's a pragmatic approach, recognizing that it might be too late for a dramatic turnaround in 2024. The team is essentially using the remaining races as an extension of testing, gathering crucial data that will inform the car's design for 2025. It's a risky strategy, as it potentially sacrifices short-term results. But for a team of Mercedes' caliber, with 8 consecutive constructors' titles in their recent history, the focus has always been on the championship, not just isolated wins. However, this approach puts enormous pressure on the engineers at Brackley. They are not just trying to understand current problems, but also anticipating how these lessons will apply to F1's ever-evolving regulations. It's a Herculean challenge, but one that Mercedes believes they are up to facing. The road back to the top will be challenging. It will require innovation, perseverance, and above all, patience. But if there's one team capable of making this comeback, it's Mercedes. They've proven in the past their ability to reinvent themselves and overcome adversity. For the team's fans, the message is clear: keep the faith. Formula One is a sport of highs and lows, and the tide will inevitably turn. When it does, Mercedes will be ready to once again fight for the top of the podium. In the meantime, we'll continue closely following every development, every lap on the track, every decision in the pits. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and leave your comment. See you in the next video.